What's up, Ghost Riders? Today we're going to be recording a 120 horsepower blowout valve from RPM Power Sports. We want to give a huge shout out to Jason from RPM Power Sports for sending us this great product.
What's up, Ghost Riders? First step on installing the RPM blowout valve is removing the belt case tube so we could get access to the charge tube that's in the back of it. Easier access, easier job. Once you remove and loosen up both clamps on the bottom side, then you should be able to just whip it right out and it should be out of your way. Now step number 2 will be removing your exhaust intake cover, which you would just lift up. It just clips. And then this would normally be your intercooler cover, but we don't have one, so we'll just be lifting it up as well. It just clips on, as you can see. Step 3, we're going to be loosening up the clamp on the cold side of the valve charge of the turbo to start our installation process. Step number 4, we're going to be removing this turbo panel that's located in the back seat of the 4-seater, in between the 2 back seats. If you have a 2-seater, then it should be located between the 2 front ones. So for the 4-seater, it will be right here, which just pops off if you give it a light. Pop out and up. Once you have your turbo cover off on the back of your 2 back seats on the 4-door, you will see that clamp right about here that you just have to loosen up with a flathead. Once you have your clamp nice and loosened, your hose should just pop right out, just like this. Step 5, give it a nice little pull towards you. 6, once we have our hose, we will get our RPM blow-off valve. We're going to make a slight incision where the instructions tell us, and soon we will have our RPM blow-off valve installed between the hose. You have your hose from the turbo side. You're going to measure 5 inches back. You're going to make a slight cut, then you should be able to insert your RPM blow-off valve in between both cuts. Now that we cut our hose, we will be dry fitting our blow-off valve. Do not install the clamps because you have to adjust it on the turbo side first, and then you will adjust it on the other side of the turbo, just like that. No clamps, just so you can get it ready. Now that we have the RPM blow-off valve nice and snug, it's not fully tightened yet, we still have to adjust it so it's nice and adjusted on both sides, this side and the down side. We also want to make sure that our hose is never touching our exhausts because we know those get extremely hot. And we also want to make sure our filter is always up, maybe a little bit like an inch, inch and a half above, not touching straight on the ground or on any parts, not the ground, for example. Okay, now we come to this side and we're just adjusting the hose so it fits right back where it was, just like that. Now, one by one, you can go start tightening up your clamps. Make sure they're nice and snug on each side, just like this. Just how we're doing right now. Remember to come back and tighten up the clamps on your turbo because we were just getting everything nice and dry fit. So we know that our hose is nice and ran everywhere, all across. At this time, you should be all nice and tidied up. Okay, now at this point, we should be fully installed on the hose on both sides, on the turbo and the downside. So now we're gonna focus on running the blow-up RPM valve line. And now we will be loosening up that screw, which is the Allen wrench, the same as the belt cover, just in case you don't know. And we will be installing the booster reference port, which is right here on to there. Now that we have our Allen screw off, you will see a slight little plastic cover on it, which you will just have to remove, just like this, up. Nice little wiggle, we'll get it out. After removing the plastic, we will grab our port and make the installation in there, as you can see, just like this. You will also grab the same Allen screw and reinstall it back in its spot. Now that we have the booster port nice and installed, we're gonna focus on getting all the slack of the line nice and adjusted so it's not hanging, and most importantly, it's not touching the exhaust. Now that your line is fully ran and elevated, not touching anything hot, kept away from your exhaust, you are now ready to start installing all your backs, covers, and everything else you need. Now you can start by covering up your turbo by installing the turbo cover, which just basically goes popped in there just like that. It's already on. Now we got our cap ready over it. Same concept, just pop it in there. Same as this one. All you want to do is really just align it, the back first. Make it hold the bar, the grab bar. Line it with the holes. And just give it a quick tap. And the final step on putting everything back together, you grab your belt case tube and you just basically tighten back up your two clamps that you took off, and that's a wrap for the job. Well guys, that's a wrap for the installing video on the RPM blowout valve. Huge shout out to RPM Power Sports on providing us an amazing quality of RPM valve for us to test it out. And we'll show you guys a couple rips in a little bit and show you guys how everything sounds. Thank you.